Our next presenter grew up in New Jersey around the lushness of vegetable farms. Graduating from Rowan University with a bachelor's degree in art education, they fell into the food industry by happy accident. Having worked previously in fresh and IQF vegetable operations, they have brought with them an advanced knowledge of quality standards within the industry. They're currently certified in HACCP, Acidified Foods, SQF, and Serve Safe Manager. With their background in education, they're able to build education programs to facilitate a food safety culture in addition to HACCP and regulatory consulting. So please help me welcome AJ Karwowski.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can see me and hear me all right. It looks like my microphone's moving. Um, this. So as um, they were able to say, I did grow up in New
Hi,
Jersey.
Chef. We can't
Awesome.
hear you.
All right, good. That's what I was waiting for. So yeah, I did grow up in New
You're
Jersey.
currently muted, Chef. Or
Oh,
if not muted, the sound's at least not coming through. Oh, everyone else can hear him? I'm going to refresh my browser then and get off the stage and stop bothering him. Sorry, must be on my side. I'll see you in a few, Chef.
Go away, Jason. You're funny. Um, so I'm coming to you from CREA. One of my coworkers did a presentation yesterday for the home chefs, and if you were there, you might have seen him. His name's Ivan Medina. He did a nice Puerto Rican dish, little canoas made out of plantains. Um, so I'm here to talk more on the quality assurance side, as I'm our quality assurance manager and consultant within the team. So what I have for you today is just some little tips and tricks that you can use at home and within your restaurants that are just some things that we find that in our consulting, some customers of ours are just not aware of to help make sure that you're getting the best out of your product and the best out of the method. Um, so who are we? I'm part of CREA, which is the Culinary Research and Education Academy. We're a global leader in culinary research, education, and consulting, and we've trained more than 5,000 chefs around the world and 80% of the world's three-star Michelin chefs. We host sous vide training multiple times a year, which Mike mentioned in the chat that he's come and with us back in August. He was able to take the course. So it is something that a home chef can come and take. You don't have to be a professional chef. We even have quality assurance people come and take it. Recently we had some women who were in Panera's quality assurance come and take it just to better understand the method. I believe Jason might have taken it previously as well, but don't quote me on that. and we are a sister company of Cuisine Solutions. So Cuisine Solutions is the world's leading manufacturer of sous vide foods, and we're recognized by top chefs as the authority in sous vide. So like I said, Panera came, they sent their quality assurance. They're one of the customers of Cuisine Solutions at the moment. So you might have actually eaten Cuisine Solutions food without actually know that you've eaten Cuisine Solutions food. Um, we sell a lot B2B, but they also will sell to consumers as well. And I've put both of their links and all of our social medias in the bottom there for you to browse on your own later if you would like to. Again, this is me, my lovely headshot. As you can see, I might look slightly different, but I should look pretty similar to that. And then this is just some things that CREA does in addition to that education, like I said. So we do high-level R&D. Right now we have a cryo concentration and extraction course, which is what we believe the next sous vide is going in the next 10 years. And we train people on that. We do menu development, whether you have an existing space or you have something, a concept that you want to get out, put out. We help with that. We help with the kitchen design, helping you get equipment. We specialize in rapid cook equipment, which we kind of talked about with, sous vide is something that's great for a space that wasn't a kitchen to begin with. And hoodless, ventless is also part of that as well. So we definitely like to help our clients be able to get into spaces they normally can't get into. When I talk to places that have banqueting or a convention center, I always like to mention, this equipment is great for if you have a 3-day event and you just want to put your equipment closer to where you need to be. As long as you have the electric outlets set up correctly, it's nice that you can move it from room to room. We also do facility development. And then as far as we have 4 chefs on our team who will help with that. And then me with more of the quality. I help with HACCP plans. I write HACCP plans. And then we also do GMP and quality assurance auditing or just food safety management systems if you need. And we do food safety auditing as well. Gaffer's Tavern. That's a T. Taffer's Tavern there is one of our consulting clients as well. Yeah, they are what we consider our full package from ideation to opening day and past. We continue to be the ghostwriter of their menu. And we're helping open more locations for Taffer's Tavern. If you don't know, Taffer's Tavern is owned by John Taffer from Bar Rescue. It's 90% sous vide, so all of the meats are sous vide on the menu. And then he currently has 3, one in Georgia, one in DC, and one in Boston. So if you're near any of those places, definitely go check it out. We definitely think it's going to be a kitchen of the future. So here's Dr. Bruno, as everybody knows, our master of sous vide and the grandfather of sous vide. He is the chief scientist for Cuisine Solutions still and the founder of CREA. And he's in the office all the time. We still see him and we love when he comes by. He's a really amazing individual and very, very intelligent. And in 2017, he was named 100 of the greatest visionaries by the Einstein Legacy Project. And what's great about that is he was the only person within the culinary sphere to win that award. As they talked about in the Jambi, but I'll just keep going. We all know that sous vide is French for under vacuum, and it's a form of reduced oxygen packaging. So when you're looking at your local regulatory requirements, you're going to want to look for reduced oxygen packaging, and then you'll see sous vide as a subcategory of that. And we know that it is a cooking method using precise temperatures and times for enhanced flavors, textures, nutritional values, and it's perfectly cooked every time. Improved food safety and shelf life through pasteurization and inhibiting anaerobic or aerobic spoilage organisms. So what we should recognize here is because it's reduced oxygen, when we're reducing the oxygen, we are in an anaerobic environment, which would keep things that would normally grow in our regular atmosphere that is oxygen rich from growing because it doesn't have the air to breathe, quote unquote. But once we remove that oxygen, there are other things that prefer to have no oxygen in their environment, and you're kind of selecting for those things to have the ability to grow. So there's some things that we need to do to make sure that we're still continuing to keep our people safe and that those things are not growing. One of the things we get asked a lot is sous vide for cooking or is it for preservation? So what we consider sous vide to be is cooking. Reduced oxygen packaging can be used for preservation, but it can only be for raw meat that the skin is removed at slaughter. So things like beef or lamb, those types of more of a red meat. When it comes to chicken and poultry and pigs, for example, those things have fur and, pigs have hair, and then chickens and other poultry have feathers that need to be removed. And a lot of the times when they do that, they put it in a hot bath, either to singe the hair on the skin of the pork or to loosen up those. I'm sorry, my mind is drawing a blank, but where the feathers go into the skin at to loosen those pores up so that those feathers can be removed more easily. And a lot of the times, when you do that, you're also relaxing the muscles of that animal, and then anything that was currently in the body is now out of the body and also in that water bath. So it is not very sanitary, which is why we say that you don't want to reduce oxygen pack anything raw that is poultry or pork, because you could have, E. coli, salmonella, things of those nature currently on the meat itself. So to preserve with sous vide, you do need to cook. And that's really what I'm going to get into a little later in my presentation here. So most of us, we know the sous vide process, right? We have our fresh products. If it's a meat, we'll sear it first, and then we allow it to cool because we need to make sure that it's cool before we put it in our vacuum pouch and vacuum seal it. One of the reasons we need to do this is because the cells of our meats and our vegetables and our fruits have water inside of them, and when we lower atmospheric pressure, water boils at lower temperatures. So normally water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, as we go up in altitude or remove the atmospheric pressure, those temperatures drop rapidly. And when you're in that vacuum chamber, then things will start to boil at 10 degrees Celsius. And if you're boiling water inside of the cells, those cells are then able to expand and can break. And then once those cells are broken, your meat is just mush. So you're ruining your meat before you even get a chance to cook it, which is why once you sear, you need to allow it to become cool again before you even vacuum pouch it. Once it's vacuum pouched, then it can be put in the water bath. And then we cook for however long we need to at those precise times and temperatures. And then some places, that's it. After that, they skip right to 7 and they plate to serve. But here at CREA, we like to teach that chilling and cold storage is a essential step. Now, some regulations will not allow you to do this with seafood because of certain things within the seafood. It's written into their codes. You'll have to double check your local regulatory requirements, but seafood is usually, cook and then plated to serve. So you are going to skip 5 and 6 there. But everything else, we say that you really should allow it to cool, chill rapidly. You want to keep it out of that temperature danger zone. And then that chilling and cold storage actually fixes the flavors within the pouch, and you get a much better tasting product at the end. And then you reheat and you serve. Now, when you do reheat, you don't want to reheat to the same temperature you cooked at. You want it to be 1 or 2 degrees lower because you don't want it to overcook. So again, this is just a little graphic I put up showing why this chilling and cold storage fixes the flavor. So on the left here, we have a piece of red meat specifically. This would be sort of what your muscles look like as a human and as a piece of beef would look like. I like to look at them sort of as fiber optic cables. You have these casings which hold a bunch of strips of muscle, and inside of those strips of muscle is even smaller strips, and it just kind of starts to look like cables to me, where you have really thin copper, and then you have a casing, and then you have like 3 of those wrapped around with another casing. So if any of you have ever tried to strip your electrical for copper, if you've ever been that poor or that desperate, this is what it starts to look like for me for muscles. I know it's a weird analogy, but I'm a visual person, like I said, I went to school for art. So as you cook, the water that was originally inside of all of these little cables will go into the open spaces and be squeezed out, and then even into the pouch with your purge. So once you cook and then allow it to sit to rest on the counter for about 10 minutes for a meat, 5 minutes for fish, it allows those juices to get reabsorbed back up into the product as it starts to relax after all of that heat, right? It's in the water bath and it's like, oh my God, I'm hot, I'm hot, I'm hot, and it's all brought up, and then as it relaxes and rests on the table, it's able to pick those juices back up in. Now, you won't get all of your water droplets back into your cells, but you will get quite a few of them, and that helps to keep, a nice flavor and get those flavors back up into that piece of meat as well. I believe you could use the Delta method to retherm, Kevin. So spores are what we are considering to be one of those things that we want to stay out of the temperature danger zone for. So Clostridium botulinum in particular is a spore forming bacteria, and spores are kind of like the acorns on a tree, right? So the tree makes these seeds, it puts them inside of the shell of the acorn and then it drops onto the ground. Well, those can stay on the ground for years until the acorn is like, oh my goodness, the temperatures are great. They're going to be great this year. The soil is super moist. I love it. Let's do it. And then it'll start growing, right? So these spores, they they are all of the seed of that Clostridium. So as you cook, you're getting rid of like the shell, right? And then these seeds stay there and they survive in this protection form of the spore. And then once it's in the temperature danger zone or within those favorable conditions, then it'll start to regrow itself. And you can see here, I tried to make these squares sort of look like our little tadpoles up there. And those tadpoles are actually what Clostridium botulinum look like under a microscope. So that's one of the things that, we say that you need to keep the food cold because it won't grow when it's in your fridge or your freezer. If you're leaving your things on the table overnight, not a good idea. That's where you start to get the bag will start to expand a little bit because these things are growing and putting off air. And the other thing with the chilling and the ice formation is that the rate that you chill your product directly correlates to the size of the ice crystals that you're going to be making. So if you think about your normal refrigerator, when you go to put water in an ice tray, if you don't have an ice maker, right? You put your water in your ice tray, it's overflowing a little bit, you put it in there. And then once you have your ice caps, they kind of dome a little bit on the top, right? That's because it's freezing at such a slow pace that the water kind of expands a little bit and you have a lot of air in those crystals and very big crystals inside. If you have a blast chiller, something that's like -30, you're going to get really nice, small, fast freezing crystals. And why does this matter with sous vide? Well, again, when we talked about you could boil the cells and boil that water and break open those cells, the same thing can happen with the ice. If it freezes too slow, you can have really big crystals, and then those crystals will break off or break out of the cell, and they can break those cell walls. So then you kind of have a mushy product at the end. So you want to make sure that your methods of freezing are pretty rapid to make sure that you're getting those smaller. Yes, yeah. So you want to make sure you're getting those smaller ice crystals as well. You want to make sure that those cells are still intact whenever you're done. Um, and then, of course, I've talked to you about all this science, right? CREA has a really big science background. But you really need to make sure you have the right tools of the trade as well. I mentioned a blast freezer. Well, at home, people necessarily might not have that. An ice water bath works really well. But in a restaurant, you could more than welcome, you can get a blast chiller. You can even get one that's a blast chiller and a thawing cabinet all in one. You have to use one method or the other, but they're really nice to have. So what are some options that are available for us, and why is plastic important? So we talk about vacuum chambers and sealers, right? So you have on the left here, you have an external vacuum packing machine. A lot of people at home will have this, and they think that they're really preserving. It's good for certain things, but not really necessarily good for sous vide. All it's doing is taking the air out of the packaging, and it requires a special bag. It doesn't necessarily remove the oxygen, right? It's just kind of taking as much air as it can from the bag itself. It's like hooking, if you buy those vacuum bags from the dollar store for your blankets or to store clothes, right? It's just removing as much air as possible. It's not necessarily removing all of it. Polyscience makes a nice chamber vacuum packaging machine, nice countertop, very small. You can use it at home or professionally. And that is a chamber sealer. So that reduces the atmospheric pressure, removes all of the oxygen, and gives you a much better end product. And you can set it to different settings as well, which is what we at CREA like. Because if something has a bone in it, you're going to want to have what we call post evacuation time, which means that it holds that atmospheric pressure for a certain amount of seconds. And what that does is allow more oxygen to be removed from those bones. And you do have to be careful with that because you don't want to reduce the marrow as well. And then more on the industrial side, multivac is more business to business, but the 100 is still rather relatively small. If you have enough counter space, it's very great to have as well. They are workhorses. They're made to be in an industrial setting. So I believe the one that we have at CREA is about 10 years old now. Still works great as long as you keep up with changing the oil in it and all of that. And again, you can change the settings to what you need. So I know that it was brought up in the chat earlier about Breville having the Joule, and is that uh, going against the Hydro Pro? Well, for home, the Joule is really great, and it is more made for the home chef who might use it every once in a while, not necessarily every day, not all day. And the same thing with the Anovas. The Anovas are very, very good as a home chef precision cooker, but again, they're just Polyscience really did do the work with their Hydro Pro series, and we have those at our test kitchen. Cuisine Solutions uses them in their show kitchens. They use them to do batch testing for reheating any products for QA standards, and they are really workhorses. They're very, very easy to clean and easy to set, easy to program. Um, and we just love them. I mean, they're amazing. CREA is actually an affiliate of Breville Polyscience, and we do sell some of their equipment on our website. So if you ever need anything, come and check us out. We have a lot on our website that we sell. Additionally, we also will sell some probes and some tape. So you're going to need a thermometer, right? We're talking about precision cooking, and what's one way to do that is to monitor your temperature. You want to make sure that you have good probes, good thermometers that are accurate, that you can get that core temperature and be able to get the best product that you can get out of this cooking method. So we really like ThermoWorks as far as home cook, and even we give it to our restaurant clients as well. The ThermoQ is a great little thermometer that allows for Cape type probes to be put in. One of the drawbacks that we see on it is that you can only put two. So this testo that I have on the right here has 4 channels, which allows you to check more products at once, and it also gives you the option to have an ambient probe as well, because you have those 4 channels. So you can have one as ambient all the time, and then you get to check that your circulator is also set up to where it needs to be. So the green probe here I have on the right is one that we sell through CREA. It's similar to the one from ThermoWorks. However, we find that it has much better shelf life. We use it in our industrial applications in our plants, and we just find that it holds up just a little bit better. But again, ThermoWorks is still great. And then this foam tape we also sell through us. Foam tape is very important, right? We need to make sure that even though we are putting a hole in the bag, nothing is going in or coming out of that bag. So we have this really nice foam tape that we found that has a good density that allows you to put the probes through, but still does not allow anything in or out of the pouch. And then plastic, right? You need to make sure that the plastic that you're using is able to withstand your cooking temperatures without any chemical transfer onto the food. I can tell you that I've seen some pictures from certain websites that are selling home products with a Ziploc bag as the pouch. Ziploc bags are not made to withstand the cooking temperatures. Yes, they're great for the freezer, they're great for cold storage, but they're really not great at a high temperature. You're going to be putting some chemicals into your food that might not hurt you right now, but if you keep using it in the long run, it might not be so great for your body. Polyscience also has some bags. I've only been able to find those through the Webstaurant store, but we've used them before in the past. Polyscience has sent them to CREA for us to test, and we find that they work very well. So I would recommend those. And what's nice about those is they come in a smaller pack of 250, which is a little bit easier to store in your home. For professional, these are a couple brands here that we like. We've seen with clients, we've used within our kitchens. So Aeropack, Millard is a French company. We sell some of those. The C is actually sealed air. And then Alara is one that we found that a consumer, or not a consumer, a client has been using recently, and we really liked those bags as well when we went and tested them out at their location. Yes, exactly, Mark. As long as they're PE, they don't outgas. Just with some basic safety tips, right? Things that we should all know, right? You should wash your hands. You should be using clean cutting boards. Your surfaces should be clean. Any container that you're using should be clean, right? Uh, Wash your fresh produce with water and vinegar before you use it. So we like to say that's the grandmother method, right? Water and vinegar, there's nothing wrong with it. 5 milliliters of white vinegar per liter of water. And then don't forget to also wash those tomatoes and melons or anything that has a hard rind, especially cantaloupes. Make sure you scrub your cantaloupes. You want to make sure that you get in between those little nudges so that you can make sure there's nothing staying down in there. And then you want to avoid your cross contaminations and your cross contacts, right? Especially in a restaurant setting. So you want to clean and disinfect between ingredients and store them from top to bottom on recommended cooking temperature with the highest temperature at the bottom. So in your fridge, usually your poultry is going to be on the bottom because that has the highest cooking temperature, and your fresh produce up on the top shelf. And then you want to ensure that your foods are not held within the temperature danger zone for more than 2 hours. And again, that zone is between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 135 degrees Fahrenheit. So either in the refrigerator or hot. And then you want to make sure that you're also sanitizing your thermometer probes in between uses, and that you calibrate them monthly or based on use. So if it's something that you're going to be using every day in an industrial setting or a restaurant setting, I personally would recommend that you check your calibrations at the beginning of the day before you start using anything, just to make sure that they're where they need to be. But if it's something that you're using at home, maybe each time you use it. I mean, if that's once a month, then just double check it. You know, it's been sitting in that drawer, it's been knocked around with other things. And then you also want to make sure you check it anytime you drop it, especially in a restaurant. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And then HACCP, like I said, I specialize in the HACCP plans. So anytime you're using reduced oxygen packaging, whether that's you're just vacuuming it because it's a raw meat, or you're doing sous vide or cook chill, or modified atmosphere packaging, you need to make sure that you have a HACCP plan. With HACCP, it ensures compliance with your local food regulations, whether that's state, county, city, federally. You need to make sure that you're doing it to the specifications of where you are. So they do differ in the United States from state to state, and even sometimes between counties within those states, or like New York City has their own food code from the rest of New York. So each one of those also chooses a different version of the FDA code to follow. And so, what CREA is really nice about is we will talk to the regulators, we will look up each code, we make sure that we understand the code, and we write those HACCP plans according to the codes. And then federally, as far as the US goes, the USDA and the FDA regulate different things that cross state lines or involve more than one state. So if you have a commissary kitchen in one state and you're going to another, then you would need to be federally regulated. Or if you're, marketplace selling, then you would need to be federally regulated. And majority of food codes state that sous vide must be consumed present on the premises. I apologize. On the premises, you cannot sell it directly to a consumer still in the pouch. And what we should know about HACCP is that it stands for Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points. And those critical control points all will require documentation and monitoring to prove that you're meeting those controls. Yes, the way things are split between the FDA and the USDA are crazy. And the goal in applying HACCP principles is to ensure that products are high quality and safe for your consumers, right? We don't want to get anybody sick. So if you would like to learn more and come learn with us at CREA, we do have an upcoming 3-day sous vide cooking at precise temperature course. Again, Mike has taken it. So has Jason. It's a great course. It's very intense, 3 days worth of cooking, but you'll cook everything from seafood to meats to fruits and vegetables. You're going to learn a lot in a small amount of time, but you're going to have fun doing it. And again, this will be it's actually in Sterling, Virginia, which is about 45 minutes from DC. Very easy to get to. We're right near Dulles Airport. There's plenty of places to stay, and you'll have a really great time with us. Again, this is November 28th to November 30th, so it is the week right. It's the Monday right after Thanksgiving, and travel might be a little bit of a nightmare, but definitely join our mailing list. Keep in contact with us. We have them several times a year. If you are a restaurant or some other type of place where you want more than 10 chefs to have this training, it might be more advantageous for us to come to you. And that is something that CREA does offer. We can do training at your location as well. As long as you have 7 people up to 14, we don't allow more than 14. We just find that with the intensity of the course, it doesn't give enough hands on for everybody past 14 to really get the idea and get the hands-on training that we feel that they should have. And then here's a couple resources. So we do have some online culinary resources from CREA. So if you can't afford to come and see us, you might want to take one of our online courses. They are not as in-depth as our in-person course, but they are very good. You will learn a lot. Uh, like I said, CREA does have some reselling agreements with some companies that we find are the creme de la creme, and you can find some of those things on our online store, whether it's probes or equipment. We have it there for you. We have bags. We sell Cambros and lids that'll fit the circulators so that you can have a lid and you're not constantly losing water due to evaporation. And then mycuisinesolutions.com is our cuisine solutions to consumer website. So you can buy things for home on that website as well. Kevin Harmeet has changed positions within the company. So she's no longer in CREA, but she still is with us. And then I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to me today. We really appreciate it. And we love being able to help out the sous vide community and make sure that the education is there for you all. And if anybody has any questions, I'll try and answer those. Okay.
That was amazing, Chef. I really appreciate you sharing so much information. Mike,
No problem. I know it's a lot.
that's great. Well, what's one mistake you see a lot of companies making on their HACCP plans when they're doing them themselves?
I think it's more just an educational thing. When you're doing it yourself, there's a lot to think about. And the nice thing about CREA is that we've done so many. We've worked in multiple states, almost all 50, including Hawaii. So we've kind of have the background of more hands-on. We know some of the local regulatory bodies. We speak into them. We've done education with them. A lot of the problem that we see a lot of clients running into is that their local inspectors or their local Department of Health is not as educated in what sous vide is as we would like them to be. And so they kind of make mountains out of molehills, right? They're asking all these questions and making it seem like it's real big taboo, right? Because everybody has that thing from the 80s where some chefs were not cooking to the temperatures that they should have been and some people were getting sick, right? So a lot of the thing is just educating those local departments and making sure that we take the fear out of cooking sous vide and those negative rap that it gets. To me, it's kind of like sharks, right? Shark Week is all about scaring you about sharks, but they kill less people a year than cows do, and you're in their territory. So, it's just the education. You need more education.
Have you run into any cities or locations where you just couldn't get a HACCP plan approved for the sous vide, or have you been able to figure it out in most cases?
No, we've definitely been able to figure it out. The education is up and coming, like more people are more familiar with it, especially some of the younger inspectors coming in. But I can say for myself, like I knew nothing about sous vide until until I got hired at CREA. It's a wonderful cooking method. I absolutely love it. It is going to be the future of kitchens. I really do believe having, the experiences that I have in the workforce. And uh, I see it going very far and very quick. I mean, we have a lot of people reaching out to us asking for help, and we're more than happy to help them with their needs.
Since you were getting like started at CREA and you were getting into sous vide, what's something that you tasted and you're like, whoa, this is a game changer?
Definitely anything that's a longer cook time, like 24 to 36 hours. The way that it just falls off of the bone and you get that like almost like a pulled pork or pulled chicken, like really nice, really, moist flavor that just it's mind blowing to me.
Well, Chef, thank you so much for the great presentation, for spending your time to come here and talk at the International Sous Vide Association Summit. We really appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate you having me here, and I look forward to seeing everybody else's presentations today.
And as the chef said, their class is great. I've gone to it. Mike's gone to it. I know Kevin's in the chat. He's gone to it. I've heard nothing but good things from anyone that's ever gone to it. It is super intense 3 days of like being in the kitchen, cooking, like let's do salmon 30 different ways and taste them all side by side by side. And it's a really eye-opening experience. I had a great time as a home cook, and I know a lot of professional chefs that have gone that really enjoyed it as well. So please check out CREA. They've been a great supporter and sponsor of us since the first in-person conference. They work with most of the best restaurants in the world. So they know what they're doing. They've seen it all, and they're good at explaining it to either restaurant owners, to head chefs that might feel threatened by sous vide coming in, or just from uh, the health inspectors and health departments. They've dealt with everyone, and they know how to speak almost everyone's language. So it's a really big benefit. And like I said, I'm a huge supporter of CREA and what they've done, and they've always been there for us, which we really appreciate. If you liked Chef Karwowski's presentation, give them some love in the comments. Let them know it's always intimidating getting up here and talking to a bunch of smart chefs like all of you. So give them some love in the comments.